How come a high-level player can't tell he's being misled? Because high-level players don't necessarily know a lot about the game. They're really good at executing a very small amount of things over and over, way better than other people. And if you're just good enough at that, you can climb. But no, Zomerang, it has nothing to do with me not learning anything because I'm a coach. Because you're implying that coaches know the things that we were just talking about. This guy's a coach. This guy has more coaching experience under his belt than most people on professional gaming teams. He has more interaction with high MMR players than most people on pro gaming teams. Your comment doesn't make any sense. The reason I agreed to do this...
Logical.
The reason I agreed to do this is because, one, he asked me. Two, he gave me permission to be open and honest with everything that I thought. But then three, people don't realize what's going on with coaching. This is something I'm very passionate about. And I really, really don't like that people can hide behind not having any content. Because this is someone that has way more workload and way more stuff under their belt than most people. That's the sad reality of it.
And that can probably also hurt him.
It could hurt him, yeah. I agree, yeah. This guy is at least putting himself out there. And the thing is that I don't think that he means to do any negative. I've personally recommended this person to lower MMR players because even telling lower MMR players the general gist of basic things, like, it gets them thinking. Like, oh, yeah, like, oh, this is a thing that in theory is possible, right? So even though you don't have all the nitty-gritty variables, the nitty-gritty variables don't become important until you start getting to, like, really high MMR, where micro aspects become really important. So for low MMR players, a lot of the things that he'll talk about that are super surface level, they are pretty fine. But when you begin to, like, delve into, you know, Challenger v Challenger, Pro versus Pro, you know, Challenger versus Pro, etc., you're going to need a lot more. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't learn anything from the video. And I felt like the video had way more misleading information than it had positive information. I don't think this Orianna could so here's what I would do, right? So this Orianna, based on how he was talking with the coach and other stuff, this Orianna is the type of person I would lie to in order to actually see if he's following. And then I would ask way more questions. Like, you know, like I started doing this towards the end of my coaching career too. I started drawing a lot of circles, and then I would draw numbers on them, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and then I would ask, like, what number is good, and why is it good? And then, you know, because this gets them actively thinking about defining their rules and defining their variables, and why they exist the way that they do. Because that's what becomes more important the higher that you get up, is understanding something, not just knowing it. But all that this coaching is doing is trying to make the person know it, not understand it. So, it's not good. Or it's not useful to challengers. It's not useful to high MMR. Yeah, and lower MMR you can get away with general things, because the details, like, there's so many mistakes happening so often that finer details don't really matter as much. Yeah. Why don't I coach publicly anymore? Because it's a fucking ripoff. You don't need to pay me $120 or $125, whatever my rate is, to get told the same stuff that's on my YouTube. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of videos on my YouTube that are literally titled recommended, and they only go over the fundamentals. Fundamentals don't change. If you want to actually get good at laning, that Orianna Aurelia video is one of the best videos. There's a lot of videos on my channel that you should just be able to use. But also, I still do content with pro players, like casual coaching with Lemon, or like Fudge, or, well, I mean, we sort of troll Fudge, but, yeah, I don't do, like, nitty-gritty stuff anymore. But I don't do nitty-gritty stuff anymore because it's really mentally taxing to deal with people that don't have discernibility. And I don't really, I don't care about doing it anymore. Mostly because of that. I feel like I've been alienated away from it.
Doing that in public is hell.
Yeah, it is.
Also, I think if you were to do it, the only thing that would make sense for you to do it was for Masters/Challenger players.
Yes, I
it
agree.
would make sense for you to do it for any.
Yeah, I could set a
MMR
cutoff
players.
for that MMR, but then the question is like, why am I doing that?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why are you doing that? I don't know. To help the player base, I guess,
But it already exists.
it does, yeah.
So I'd just be
I
repeating
mean,
it.
I guess it does fundamentally, but maybe something, I don't know, in depth or something very new that happens in that specific moment in patch.
Yeah.
That could be useful.
Nowadays, I just talk about overarching concepts. Oh, the Orianna player's in chat? Oh, I'm not going to coach him. This player can't be helped with one session. And that's not because of skill level or something like that. It's that people at this skill level, it's really hard to help with one session. I said the same thing to Elite 500. No, I said, Twitch chat, I said the same thing to Elite 500. There's a limited amount of things that you can actually do at this MMR, which is another reason that I don't do it anymore. Challenger player is not going to just fucking pay me $2,000 to sit with them for fucking 10, 15 sessions. Like,
I would.
Mostly if I do coaching anymore, it's usually like content related. I think the last like actual coaching sessions I ever did was with Sanch. Because Sanch was still like high diamond, like master at the time, but there was a lot of stuff he was missing. A lot of stuff. Moxie too, I guess, actually. Actually, yeah, Moxie, but a lot more with Sanch. A lot more with Sanchovis, yeah. Yeah, Sanchovis got good real fast. Sanchovis also lanes better than most pros when he's not tilted. Sanch isn't bad. He's unironically not bad. He actually has better mechanics than most people, and he has way more awareness, but he tilts.
And he's streaming at the same time.
Yeah, and he's streaming at the same time.
That also plays into a factor.
Yeah, he's streaming at the same time, and he tilts, and I think he gets bored. And I think that's another reality. But I think if you can have him play serious, not on stream and other stuff, it's actually probably one of the better NA players to watch. Even if he's not Challenger. So, that's another thing. Rank is meaning less and less, as weird as that sounds. Like, when it comes to, like, actually evaluating who's good and who's not.
Yes.
Because Challenger nowadays, there's, like, two ways to be Challenger. You either play really wrong, but it works because it's solo queue, or you play like an insane fucking god, while also knowing that you're playing wrong. Usually there's, like, no in-between.
Yes, I agree.
You know who
this every day.
You know who actually talked about this? Chovy. He talked about on one of his streams. And I know this because I got linked it. He actually talked about how in solo queue he feels weird because he has to play different. But Chovy's probably one of the few players remaining that can hit like ultra high Challenger with 70% plus win rate.
Hmm.
but he knows that he's not playing the way that you would play in stage.
Yep. And by the way, I don't think this is a recent thing. This I personally feel like this is a thing for 4 to 5 years already. Like for me, this is not like a recent thing.
There are some players in like GM and low challenger that are just better than like
Yes.
most pros. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't
There's also
adapt to
solo queue
solo
players
queue.
that are there's also solo queue players that are like challenger and are better than pros, but I guess that's a different topic.
Yeah. That just aren't getting played.
Yeah.
Okay, let me also, like, I wanted to bring this up on Face Check. Okay, let's say that neither me or Danny and Zepha were gonna be T1 coaches, right? And let's say that whoever would be the coach wouldn't have used Gumayushi.
Mm-hmm.
No one would know that
For good
Gumayushi is
reason.
like top 5 in the world. Right, he's just sitting there
Yes.
on the bench in Academy.
Yes.
There are players in every region that are better than active pros, but they just don't get played, and they don't get looked at, and they don't get
They
picked up,
they either don't get played, don't get looked at, or they don't want to play pro
or they don't want to
themselves.
play, right? Like that Yone Yasuo guy, Zukil or whatever. I don't even know if that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're coaches who don't want to play. And obviously I'm referencing Max and Bygar. Yeah, Malice is another one who doesn't want to play. Bjergsen would, yeah, right. Bjerg's another good example. There's a lot of examples. I forget what the name of the Korean guy is. I talked about him years ago. He would play Phil, and he would do unranked to challenger streams, and he would play different champions every time. And he was one of the only players in Korea that could, like, effortlessly get challenger. And he could do it with every role. And then he would delete the account. I forget what his name was. But he was on the older side. He was like 28 or something. But he would do it. No, it's not Dopa. It's some guy. He has glasses. That's If I saw his face, I would recognize him. He wasn't super popular. Oh my god, I remember. No, it's fine. No, never mind. But yeah, that guy's insane. But he never went pro.
Probably because they saw 28.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But then you get other people that are better than some pros that they just don't get given opportunities in Korea because of their age. They just can't get a job, and it's insane.
Yep. That used to be a thing in EU too, but I feel like it's less nowadays.
Now, there's a couple of other players. It's not just Onion. Onion's definitely up there. Because the funny thing about Onion is that he knows the game comprehensively, which is not a thing that most players do. He can talk to you about mid lane, jungle. He can talk to you about AD carry and support. He can tell you when AD carries and supports are fucking up. He can tell you about bot lane matchups, mid lane matchups, jungle matchups, right? So he knows the game comprehensively. And he's better than most players. And Onion can kind of effortlessly hit challenger as well sometimes. Depends on how big of a break. Now, Wynn's not doing very good since he came back to NA. We've had many talks about it. Wind went from being a multi-account 1000 LP challenger player to having a really hard time. Wind has had a couple of, like, emotional breakdowns where he really regretted going to NA because he said that his mechanics just got completely ruined playing on the ping, and he got so used to, like, the lazy environment, and now he can't get back in form, and he doesn't know what's wrong, and it's causing, like, a life crisis, like, actually. And me and Onion have had to, like, talk to him because he's had, like, legitimate breakdowns over it. It's really fucked. Because he's struggling really hard. So Onion spends a lot of time, like, sitting with him and, like, sort of coaching him in a way, because he was 3 seasons in a row like 1,000 LP player, and now all of a sudden after going to NA for 1 year and coming back, he like can't even break out a 400. And
I
he
can
has
tell you a story about H. So about 3 years ago, there was I was in conversation with someone that like basically makes team decisions. So he asked me which players do I think are like decent enough, right? Because he wanted a good roster, right? So I recommended him a player, and he basically said that he's too old. But now, like nowadays, the player is playing in LEC 3 years later, basically.
Wonderful. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic decision.
I don't know. This is a sad, sad situation.